cannot export successfully, and you comply with the various export regulations, say securing export license and permit from appropriate government agencies. And I cited an example that if you're going into processed food export, you must have NAFDAC certification. That's the same way if you're going to other products, you have the different certifications needed for those products. And I want to bring to your notice here that if you are exporting raw commodities and someone is exporting processed products, your documentation is not going to be the same from one to the end. Then the third point there is arranging logistics for transportation and delivery. You need a good logistic company to handle your transportation and delivery. Next, we look at it in this form, export procedures in Nigeria. Number one, on this graph is talking about export planning, going into export. You know, there's this saying that go this way, that if you fail to plan, any company that wants to go into export to first of all have an export plan for the company, maybe over a period of a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4, 5 years, as the case may be. Then next, you go into export contract sourcing. There can be no export except you have a buyer overseas. Overseas can even be Cameroon, as long as it is across border. It has become export. Then you talk about product sourcing. You must source for your products. You must have these products on ground. You know where to get it from, even if it is processed product. If you have been processing, let's say, maybe you have a container for the local market. If you want to go into export, you have to produce, even if it's 2, 3 containers, and you're sure that you have the needed quantity. The next one is insurance, transport of goods to the point of exit. It is advisable you have insurance so that in case of any damage or whatever, you will not run at a loss. Then the next, you have pre-export documentations. Those documentations later will show you the pre-export documentation and those post-export documentation. So you take your time to do the pre-export documentation. Then you go about your warehousing and inspection. Your products must be at a particular point. Wherever you store your product becomes your warehouse. And it is in that warehouse that the relevant agencies will come for inspections as the case may be. Here we have SGS and PIA. I know we all know about the inspection agencies approved by the federal government of Nigeria. In this South, we have the Neroli Technologies Limited. They inspect your product and issue you the clean certificate of inspection. They check for quality, they check for quantity. Then you now move on to truck and container booking from shipping line. That is very clear. Then you move on to loading and sealing of your containers. You move on to transport of containers.
I can't hear again. No. I think it has.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, you can hear you very well.
Yes.
Okay, so transport of containers to seaports or airports, as the case may be. If your export is by sea, then you have to go to the seaport. If it is by air, you go to the airport. And let me also add that it can also be by road, by way, maybe to neighboring African countries. If it is by way, then you go to the border. Then next is the custom inspection and shipment. Customs have to do the final inspection before the shipment. And when they do this inspection, they issue you what they call single goods declaration form. That means that your goods is then good to go. Then you move on to your post-export documentation, which we'll mention later in this presentation. Then the exporters forward documents to this bank. When you have done with these processes we've already mentioned, it means that your goods have already moved from the shore of this country. So you forward your documents to your bank to start the processing for payment. Then next, exporters bank forward documents to importers bank. It will now be between your own bank and the importer's bank. Then importer's bank transfer funds to exporter's bank. Then exporter's bank credits exporter account. Then next we have export documentation. It says having the right documentation is crucial for successful export. Exporters must possess a thorough understanding of the documentation process to ensure smooth operation. In international trade, documentations are as good as the cargo. And I want to put it straight to us that you may have fantastic products, but if your documentations are not in order, then you may end up losing your goods. You may end up not being paid. So it is very, very crucial, very, very important for us to have the right documentation, do it the proper way without cutting corners. Next on the slide, we mentioned pre-export documents. So what are those documents that we say they are pre-export documents? Those documents you must have before you even commence export. You have NEPC certificate. I know most of you are already registered with the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, and I know some of us are still potential exporters. So NEPC certificate is a license that you must possess before you venture into non-oil export. Then your pro forma invoice. This pro forma invoice where you have the negotiation between you and your customer. It is not your final invoice. It is telling you the amount for each of the products, for unit price, and for the total product. Then you have the NSP from Nigerian Export Proceeds Form. Later on in the presentation, we will let you know where each of these documents can be obtained from and what they are used for. Then post-export documents include packing lists, where you have the list of all the products to be exported or which you're putting on in the cargo for export. Then you have your commercial invoice. You have your health certificate, as the case may be, depending on what you are exporting. Then you have your clean certificate of inspection. You have your certificate of fumigation. It depending on the product. If it is raw commodities, you don't need certificate of fumigation for processed products. Then you have your certificate of quality and weight, certificate of origin, testifying that the product is of Nigerian origin and that you did not import products into the country just to export them back. That is not encouraged and it is not allowed. Then your bill of lading, or if it is by sea, your airway bill if it is by air, and your way bill if it is by road. Next on the slide, we are listing some export documents and issuing agencies. Number one on the list is the Exporters Registration Certificate, which is being issued by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. It says purpose to obtain database of exporters as a precondition for the export of non-oil export in Nigeria. For you to be an exporter, registered exporter in Nigeria, we need your database so that we can communicate with you. We know what you are into and how to reach you, how to be of assistance when the need arises. Then number two on the list is the Nigerian Export Proceeds Form, NSP form. It is very crucial for any export from Nigeria, and it is being issued from commercial banks or TRMS platform. The purpose is an evidence of intent to export formally with the details of the transaction. And thank God it is being done online now. We no longer collect the hard copy. Then third on the list, we have our commercial invoice, which is issued by the exporter. Purpose, provide details of transaction, indicate financial obligations to your customers. Your customers cannot say, you said, the customer cannot say, you told me this product is $1 per kg. And why are you not demanding for $5 per kg? With your commercial invoice, every detail is there for the unit price and the total price of the entire shipment. Then number four, you have your certificate of origin being issued by the Nigerian Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture. That is to certify that the product originates or is manufactured and produced from Nigeria. Then continuation of products export documentation and issuing agency. We have number 5 on the list, which is our clean certificate of inspection. As I mentioned earlier, it is being issued by the inspection agencies approved by the federal government of Nigeria. And for this South-South region, Neoli Technologies Limited is covering South-South and Southwest. The purpose is independent statutory report on the product specification, quality, and value. They ensure that before any product leaves the shore of this country, the specification is in order, the quality is in order, and the value, you are not undercoating or you're overcoating. Number 6, on the list, we have certificate of quality fumigation and waste being issued by the Federal Produce Inspection Service, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. The purpose is for evidence of fumigation, especially for agricultural products and their waste, evidence of quality. Number 7, you have the phytosanitary certificate issued by the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAQS. The purpose is conditions for both exporting and importing countries to ensure safety in the handling of agricultural products and natural resources free from diseases. Then you have number 8, the packing list. The export is being issued by the export agent or exporter, a list of products exported with unit, quantity, sizes, and shape. So the packing list gives you a comprehensive report of what products you are exporting. Next slide. Number 9, you have your bill of lading or your airway B, way B, as the case may be. And this bill of lading, airway B or way B, is being issued by the shipping company or airline or land transport. So if it is by sea, it will be issued by the shipping company. If it is by air, it will be issued by the airline with their stamp and everything. If it is by road, it will be issued by the transport company. Purpose, a document acknowledging the receipt of goods for sea, air, and land travel. It has the date of export and mode of transportation. The next is the certificate of marine insurance being issued by the insurance company. It is optional to cover the liability of goods in transit defined for export. 11, certificate of sampling, weight, quality, and loading, accredited third-party inspection company. When this comes in, because there are some importers that demands for it, some importers may ask you to bring in an accredited third-party inspection company, even after going through all these other documentations that we earlier mentioned. So you see, under the purpose, it is optional, but it is meant for quality, product quality certification. Then number 12, common veterinary entry document, Department of Veterinary and Pest Control, is to certify the quality of animal and animal products meant for export. This particular certification now, this document on number 12, is only for animal and animal product export. Then number 13, you have the single goods declaration form being issued by the Nigerian Customs Services, provides the particulars of inspected export consignment ready for shipment. I think this is the last document before any goods moves out of the shore of the country. So see on export documents, you have the form ICO1, Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment. It says for the payment of agricultural commodity levies as stipulated by law. 15, certificate of clearance form, Department of National Museum and Monument for export of handicrafts and artifacts. If you listen from the beginning, I said you don't need every of these documents for you to export. That at times it depends on what you are exporting. Like somebody that is not exporting handicraft and artifacts, you don't need certificate of clearance form. So number 16 introducing certificate of quality for food and drugs, health certificate. This is being issued by NAFDAC for those of us that are into food, drugs, anything food consumable. You need this certification. The purpose is to certify the quality of drugs, food, and cosmetics meant for export. Then from J, being issued by Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals for those that are into solid minerals export. And the purpose is the clearance letter for the export of solid minerals. You need this for you to be able to ship solid minerals out of the country. Then number 18, clearance from the Department of Forestry, being issued by Department of Forestry. This is for export of classified endangered wildlife species, wood and wood products, furniture and furniture complements. So it is necessary for us to take note of these different documents and the issuing agency and the products that required this specific documentation for seamless export. Closing documents. Export is incomplete until the exporter repatriates his export proceeds and the next imposes strict documentation compliance on exporters to enable them to access their export proceeds. You cannot say you have done export legally by law in Nigeria if your proceeds has not been repatriated back to the country. Anybody can send you out of the country, but if you receive your proceeds being repatriated back, it is only when your proceeds has been repatriated that you can say that actually you have carried out exportation legally as stipulated by law. So these documents are referred to as closing documents. They must be submitted to the bank. Closing documents are documents endorsed and closed by customs to show and notify the bank that an export transaction has been completed. And these documents include stamped and endorsed NSP, Nigerian Export Receipt Form, stamped and endorsed clean certificate of inspection, stamped and endorsed final invoice and packing list, and also, let me put it, stamped and endorsed bill of lading. In fact, these documents are also the documents needed if you want to apply for incentive from the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, because these documents, why it is being emphasized, stamped and endorsed, is because they cannot be fake. You must have them if you claim that you have exported. Then for export of agricultural produce, including HROP, NAO. So these are some of the certification also that is being needed. If we talk about your phytosanitary, we already know where we can get our phytosanitary certification from. The GACC, China. This one is General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China. If you are interested in exporting to China, you need this certification. And NEPC is part of the secretariat that we advise you on how to get this certification. Then quality certification, just as we mentioned before, that some importers emphasize on having other independent third parties like SGS and the rest of them to inspect the products used for export. Then also certificate of origin that we earlier mentioned can be obtained from NACIMA. Then products of animal origin. Commodities must be from an approved country, an approved establishment. If you want to export products of animal origin, consignment must be notified on the GP Digital Notification System at least 24 hours before the consignment reaches the GP/BCP. Consequences of incomplete documents. This is very, very important. I've already mentioned it earlier. What are those consequences when you don't have complete documents for your export transaction? your transaction will be delayed. At times you see some products will be at the port for weeks or months, as some of the exporters will be running up and down. Some with that is even the time they will come to NEPC, they want to get NEPC certificate. So it is good for you to avoid this delay by having complete documents. Detention. We all know what that means. At times customs detain some products because of incomplete documentation. Rejection. If your documents are not complete, your products can be rejected. And last on the list is destruction. Your products can be destroyed, not because they lack the necessary quality and standard, but because the documentations needed for the products are lacking. Next, compliance to global market requirements. It is essential for us if you're into export. You know, export business is an international business. It is different from you walking into a market like my one market in Port Harcourt. You talk with your buyer and you show interest, you negotiate prices, you pay the needed amount, and you go home with your product. But when you are into export, you can be transacting business with somebody for even 10 years without meeting the person one-on-one. But what speaks for you is your documents and your product. So it is very, very important for us to comply to global market requirements because it is an international trade. So we have to comply with export procedures and documentation requirements. You know your product, KYP. The bank will say know your customer. But in this business we are into now, you have to know your product. If you are into the export of, let's say, processed cassava or cassava flour, you have to know the product, know it very well. You have to go an extra mile to know everything about the product, know them at the tips of your finger. Say adopt appropriate weight and measure, calibration, use accredited facilities, implement non-mandatory certifications. We always think this in NEPC, that there are some certifications that are not mandatory, but they are essential for your product, and they give your product an edge. They give your product premium in the international market. And that is why the council over the years has been assisting registered exporters to obtain some of these certifications free of charge, fully paid for by the Nigerian Export Promotion Council. You have the HACCP, you have ISO, you have FGA, there are many, not all in this here. Then next, you have to invest in technology and upgrade. Use UV light and system cleaning, fumigation chamber for hibiscus, etc. So any trending technology, you have to adapt. For you to have quality product adaptation, it is very, very important. You don't say this is how we used to do it, maybe 10 years back, 20 years back, and you continue that way. Hello, are we together? Are we together? Hello?
Yes.
Are we together?
We can hear you. Can hear you.
If you want to hear you in your export venture, you invest in technology and upgrade. You try to go digitalize and reduce manual. It will help your product and it will help you to have accessibility in the international market. It will help your company to be accepted in the international market. They conduct sampling and shipping inspections where necessary. Next, so these are some of the non-mandatory certifications needed. You have the HACCP, Hazard Analytical Critical Control Point for health purposes, to see that your product that is being exported was prepared or processed under hygienic conditions. It is for food safety. Then you have the Rainforest Alliance. You have the fair trade. The fair trade is to ensure that in the process of you producing that particular product, you adhere to fair trade regulations. You did not use underage children, and you did not use slaves for the sake of reduced cost. Then organic. Today, organic products have premium price in international markets because of things happening now in the world. Everybody wants to go organic. They want to reduce chemical fertilizers in what we are consuming because of some effects. Then halal certification is very, very important, especially when you are exporting. You have Islamic country as your target export country. You have to abide by their rules and regulations. You know, halal, Muslims don't deal with pig, pork meat. So you have to have this certification certifying that anything pork is not close to your facility, and that maybe equipment you use to process that particular product that you are exporting to this country, you don't use some of those, you don't come in contact with some of those food or meat or whatever that are being forbidden by Islam. So it is very important. FDA is very, very needed for the US market if you want to penetrate the US market. So thank you so much for listening. But before we call it a day, my colleague will share some of those documents that we have mentioned for you to have a look at them, what they look like, especially for those of us that have never done export formally before. So that is going to come on the screen now, and we'll talk on each of them. So just hold on a little, please. Okay. Can we see what is on the screen now? Can we see what is on the screen? This is this is what we call packing list. So if you look at it closely, you will see the products that are there, the unit, fully description of the product, each of the item on the list. So this is what a packing list looks like. Next, please. This is shipper's letter of instruction. Please bring me. Next. Okay, this is phytosanitary certificate that we earlier mentioned, that is being issued by a Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service. So you look at it, this is what it looks like. Next, please. So this one is the almighty NEPC certificate, which I'm sure that many of us, we have this one. So we don't need to talk much on this. But note that it has expiring date. This certificate has expiring date. Some months back, somebody called me and was like, I have an NEPC certificate and they're telling me it has expired. I thought when you register, you have registered once and forever. So you renew the NEPC certificate. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, we talk about third-party certification. This is what SGS certification looks like. Maybe for those importers that may request you for bring in a third-party inspection company. SGS is one of these inspection companies. So this is what their own certification looks like. Next, please. Okay, this is what we call the Clean Certificate of Inspection that is being issued by a pre-inspection agency. And I said the company that is the pre-inspection agency that is covering South and Southwest is the Neroli Technology Limited. So in this, you see the products description of the product, and when they issue you this clean certificate of inspection, it implies that your product has passed the requirements looked for during inspection. That is your product, and that your products are good to go. Next, please. This is consignment note. Next, please. This is what the certificate of origin looks like. Certificate of origin, we said, is being issued by NACIMA. So this is what it looks like. If you are going to ask for it, at least you now have an idea of what certificate of origin looks like. Next, please. Bill of lading. What we have on the screen now is bill of lading, issued by the shipping line. It will have the date of export, port of discharge, and port of loading. Those information are very, very important, and the date of export must be on your bill of lading. The port of destination, or what they call port of loading, and your port of discharge, it must be clearly stated on the bill of lading. This same thing now, if it is by air, you will get what we call airway bill, and it will still be in the same format. The date of export is very, very important. Then your port of loading, or maybe airport of loading, and where the destination of the product, it is very, very important and must be indicated. If it is by road also, you will have a way bill, even if it's by maybe ABC company, that this information also must be stated on this document. Next slide, please. So thank you so much. Those are some of the documents that we've already shared with you. So over to my colleague, Mrs. Chinelo Ikuruyi.
Yeah, madam, I thought you asked for questions and answer.
Yes, that's why I said over to her. She will take up that question. I will still respond.
Okay, madam.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Kobo, for that insightful session. And I want to say on behalf of everyone here, we want to say thank you to you for breaking down this export documentation in a clear and practical way. I'm sure we all feel more confident about handling our first orders now. So it's time to take questions now. So feel free to raise your hand or drop your questions in the chat.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chinelo. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you are.
Hello?
We can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go into the question and answer session, I would like to first of all appreciate Mrs.
Thank you.
Kobo.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I'm having technical issues. So feel free to.
Hello? Hello?